So, thanks everyone for coming. My name's Aline Meredith. I'm one of the students on placement with Cardiff Youth Service. We're joined by the member of the Senedd of Cardiff West and Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford. This is a group of young people called Young Creators, and if anyone's watching this and they fancy joining in, just give us a message and we're just going to do a Q&A. So who's first question?
That would be me. So, First Minister, how have you coped through lockdown and what have you missed the most?
Well, Thomas, thank you very much indeed for the question. Let me say at the beginning, huge thanks to Dale for helping to organise this, and to all of you for finding time to come and be on the line and to ask questions and to discuss. I'm as interested as hearing from you as telling you things myself. So if there's anything you think I ought to know or you can help me with, please make sure you take the chance to talk to me as well. How have I coped? Well, probably just like all the rest of us, really. It's not easy, is it? And like everybody else, you get fed up and tired of coronavirus and wish it was all over and that we could get back a bit to how things were before it all started. So I feel all of those things, but I'm lucky in that I'm well, I'm healthy, and generally, so long as I have a night's sleep, I'm okay the next day to carry on. What do I miss the most? Well, people, isn't it? Like all of us, the thing you miss the most are the fact that you're not able to see people in the way that you were before. So one of my children lives in North Wales. I think we've seen him twice since all this began because we haven't been able to travel back and forth and so on. He works in the health service, so he's often working weekends and things like that. So we miss that. My mum, who is 90, lives in Cardiff in West Wales, which is where I'm from, and I haven't been able to go inside where she lives. So I have met her in the summer because she was able to meet outside, and so that was okay. But when you're 90 years old, being outside isn't great. If the weather's lovely, that's all right. But if it's a bit cold or a bit windy or there's a bit of rain in the air, then she's not well enough really to be able to do that. So people is what I've missed the most.
What advice would you give to people that are isolated?
Oh, thank you very much. That's a really important question. Back in the beginning of coronavirus, back in March and April of this year, about 130,000 people in Wales were asked to what they call shield, wasn't it? To keep themselves away from everybody else. And one of the things that lots of people don't realise is that though most people who were in that position were people, over 70, there were over 6,000 children in that group as well. Children with health problems and things, so it wasn't safe for them to be able to go out and about. And that was really hard, wasn't it? Because those people, they were asked not just not to go to work or not to go to school, they were asked not to go shopping, not to go to see the doctor, not even to go out for exercise. And you can imagine being stuck at home for week after week after week. So the advice to people who are isolating now is just that they should think very carefully about the way in which they meet other people and the way in which they organize their lives. So for example, you might choose to go shopping but only go at a time when it's quiet. Don't go at the time when it's really busy. Or you might choose to go out for exercise, but again, you go at the time of the day when there are less people about. So we're no longer saying to people, don't leave the house. But what we are saying to people is, just think carefully. You are more vulnerable than other people. And who you meet, how long you meet them for, where you meet them, all of that does make a difference to whether you stay safe or not. And then, in some ways, people are the best judge of this for themselves. and they understand their circumstances and their lives better than the government does. So we give advice, and then we ask them to make the decisions that suit them best. I think you're...
Sav, you're on mute. Yep, there we go. There we go.
What support would you give to young people that are isolating? What available support is there?
Well, the first thing is that if they are isolating for a medical reason, then their support comes directly from their GP. So those 6,000 children I was talking, young people earlier in the year, they were getting advice from their doctor because their condition was serious enough that they needed proper medical advice as to how to manage and how to cope and what they could and couldn't do. So if you are self-isolating for a medical reason, then getting good advice from your own GP is the main thing. If you're self-isolating because somebody else in school has tested positive and you've been in contact with them and now you need to self-isolate, then the school is probably the best place to get advice because they will be staying in contact with you even though you're not in school physically. They will be in touch with you either because they're doing lessons online or because they are doing things by email, and they are a good place to go to make sure you get the help that you need. And then, if you're lucky, then you'll be part of some group outside school, just as all of you are. And then you can get a lot of help and support, can't you, from each other. And self-help of that sort, talking to other young people in the same position, hearing from them, hearing what they're doing, just having a chance to have a conversation with somebody, it's often one of the very best ways, isn't it, to get through a difficult period when you're self-isolating, because you're being able to draw on the help from people you know and people who will understand what it's like to be in that position.
Are there any extra services to help people with mental health?
Rich, thank you. That's a really important question during the whole of coronavirus, because we know there's more than one sort of harm that comes from coronavirus. The obvious one is when people fall ill physically. And, some people get very seriously ill and have a very bad time. But there's more than one sort of harm. And if people are asked to self-isolate or who aren't in school or who aren't able to do things that really mattered to them, then it can have an effect on your mental health and how well you feel. One of the things I think we've really learned over the last 6 months is that it's very important to be able to offer help in a variety of ways, because different ways of getting help suit different people. So there's loads of stuff online these days for people who are just more comfortable doing things on the screen and through the computer. There's all sorts of courses and all sorts of online help that you can use, and for some people that is the best way. They can do it in their own time, in their own homes, using technology that they're familiar with and are comfortable with. But it doesn't suit everybody. So there is a 24-hour helpline available in Wales. It's open all day, every day. You can call it anytime you like and you will talk to a human being. And for some people that is more important than just doing it on the screen, isn't it? It's having a human voice and someone you can talk to, and do it anonymously, because for some people with a mental health condition, they want to be able to talk to somebody, but they're anxious about doing it to somebody that they will meet again the next day. They like to talk to somebody who they won't meet again unless they choose to. So the helpline is really good for them. But of course, there are people who want a continuous relationship. They don't want just a phone call, and they don't just want to do it online. They want to talk to somebody and be able to talk to the same person next week and the same person the week after that. So there are services for people who would rather get help that way too. And we've put a bit of extra money recently into, do you know what I mean if I say third sector organisations? So these are voluntary groups.
Yeah.
Groups like Mind. So they operate in the community. So you're not going to a hospital, you're not going to a surgery or to a centre. You're just going to meet people in your own community. And we've been working with them to give them a bit more money so they've got a bit more ability to stay open for longer hours and have more people as part of their team. So there is a lot of help around. If you're not feeling well, it's not always easy to make your way to it. And we are trying our best to find more and better ways to get the help to people who need it, and to do it in a way that they will find it easy to use.
What things do you think will change forever since coronavirus? And is there anything that has changed for the better?
Well, Sam, thank you very much indeed. I think there are some things that have changed and will, I hope, stay changed, into the future, and I think are better. In the job that I do, a year ago now, I was going to London every week, at least once a week, and I would, it would take me like 3 hours to get from my house to where I was having a meeting in London. The meeting would last 1 hour, and then I would be on the train coming back for another 3 hours before I got home. So that is 6 hours traveling for 1 hour of meeting. I hope I never have to do that again, because now we meet all the time in this way. I was meeting this morning with the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, the Minister in charge of the Cabinet Office in London. We met for 2 hours and we did it all on Zoom in this way. So I really hope when coronavirus is over, we don't go back to thinking that we've all got to travel long and difficult distances to have meetings. A second thing which I think will change, and I think change for the better, is more people will work from home. So when I'm normally in my office in Cathays Park in the middle of Cardiff, it's a big office and about 2,000 people normally work in that office. They all try and arrive between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning, and they all leave between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the evening. And what does that mean? Well, it means sometimes people are travelling long distances from the valleys and things to come to work. So they can spend an hour in the car before they get to work and an hour to drive home in the evening. Did you know that Cardiff is the most commuted city in Britain? More people used to travel into work in Cardiff than any other city. 70,000 cars a day used to come into Cardiff every day, bringing people to work. And you can imagine the pollution, the air pollution, the noise pollution, the impact on the climate and the environment that brings. Now, when I was in my office today, when I went in, there were 66 people working there, out to 2,000. So everybody else is working from home and doing it fantastically. So I think the future, more people will work some days from home, some days in the office. It'll be much more flexible. It'll be better for them. It'll be better for the environment, and we'll be able to work just as effectively in that way. So coronavirus is an awful experience for most people, but there are some good things that come out of it. And it's really important that we capture that and make sure that as we come out the other side of it, we don't forget some of the good things we've learnt, as well as the really hard things.
And sorry, can I just add, in terms of young people being able to do their schoolwork digitally, I know some have found it quite good, some have found it quite difficult. Is that there to stay moving forward?
Well, I think it is there to stay, Dale, but I think the experience across Wales has been too mixed. There are some schools which have been fantastic at staying in touch with young people who can't be in the classroom, who do loads of teaching online, who make sure that work is set, and when the work is done, it's properly looked at, you get proper feedback and things. And there are other places where that hasn't been good enough at all. So I think there will be more online learning in future. But what we have to make sure is that it's as good as it's been in the best places in every part of Wales, so that every young person gets a fair crack of it. And we know we've got to do better in that in the future.
That's great, thank you.
16 and 17-year-olds are now able to vote in Wales. What advice would you give to young people who might be voting for the first time very soon?
Well, Thomas, my first and most important piece of advice is to ask people to use their vote. So if nothing else, I want to say to people fought really hard to get the vote. And it was a real struggle to get votes for 16 and 17-year-olds, because not everybody agreed with it. And lots of people in the Senate voted against it. So, a lot of hard work went into getting the vote for 16 and 17-year-olds. And it's really important that people use the vote that they've got. Some of you may have been following all the stuff that's been going on in America over the last couple of days with the election there on Tuesday, and all the struggle there's been to count those votes and to get the right result. Well, that's because millions of people queued up and took the trouble to go and vote, or voted by post or whatever. And if there's any advice at all, it's to ask people to, use the opportunity, because it really does matter.
And there's quite a big opportunity for young people at the moment to vote in the Make Your Mark ballots, which is a part of the UK Youth Parliament. So we can share the link to that on this video, and I would urge all young people in Cardiff to get their vote in for that on local issues and national issues.
I'm interested if anybody's got any thoughts on this point too, Dale. The way we vote in Wales is pretty old-fashioned, really. You can vote by post, but most people don't. Most people vote by walking all the way to the polling station. When you get there, Thomas, what you'll find is, there is a pencil on a piece of string that dangles down, and you've got to use that to put your cross on a piece of paper, which you then push into a box. Should we be looking to do it differently in the future? I told you that my mum is 90 years old. When I phoned her not that long ago to speak to her one evening, she said to me, "Oh, I'm much too busy to talk to you. I'm voting for some pop star in some online election." And I thought, well, if at 90 years old my mum can vote using her phone and doing that, then should we try and bring the way we vote up to date? And particularly for young people, would it be easier if we could find a way of people being able to vote, on the phone and electronically, rather than expecting people to turn up at the polling station and do it? Anybody got any advice for me?
I mean, I'm lucky, really, in a sense that my local polling station is right on the way into school when I walk through the gates at Fitzallen. But I think it would definitely maybe to develop some sort of Welsh Government app in particular, because I know the Senedd elections are coming up. So maybe a kind of an app revolving around that to try to get young people to interact a bit more. Perhaps enhanced advertising on social media as well would be a good thing. I've got lots of friends that use things like Instagram and Twitter, and perhaps they're more likely to be encouraged to vote there than by, say, watching the news or in adverts in notice boards.
Great. No, thank you. I think we will definitely try and do all of that and things. And, I am very keen to make it as easy as possible for people to vote. And any thoughts you have, not now necessarily, but if you've got any ideas, you can pass to Dale and or Eluned, and they can pass it to me. then that would be great, because I want to make sure that people who are 16 and 17 voting for the first time, they've got the best possible chance to do it.
If you were able to vote, guys, how would you prefer to do it?
Online, just 'cause I'm lazy, basically. But I'd rather
I
do it
would do
on actually walking
I
over
would do
to.
it on app like Tom said.
What about you, Ava?
I do an app to be easier.
Cool.
Yeah, great. Well, look, thank you. That's really interesting. And there are countries already that do all their voting in this way. You know, you can change your mind. You can vote, and then if you change your mind, you can vote again, and it's only your last vote that counts. So there's lots of interesting ways in which, you know, you might think at the beginning, oh, I want to vote for this party or that person, and then you hear something, and you think, oh no, I've changed my mind a bit, I'd rather do that. Well, you know, you can do, and it's only the very last vote you cast that counts. So it just makes it more of a, oh, you know, more interactive, if that's the right word. And I'm keen that we modernise the way we do things in Wales. So that was really helpful. Thank you very much for that.
How can young people aged 16 make a difference when voting?
Well, the most basic way is that just by voting you make a difference. You know, I said a minute ago about the elections going on in America, and you know that the United States of America, America's made up of 50 states. One of the candidates, Joe Biden, he's ahead by under 1,000 votes out of millions. So you know, your vote might be the difference. Your vote could be the one that decides who is chosen and who isn't chosen. So the first way that you make a difference is just by using your vote. The other way is to, if you're especially interested in something, if it's a campaign that you want to run, then you can be sure that people who want you to vote for them, if you get involved in something and let the candidates know, what your policy on this issue is will really matter to me and will influence how I cast my vote, then you can be sure that they will listen carefully to you, because they will want to make sure that they can persuade you to vote for them. So I don't know, let's just think of a random issue, homelessness. Say that was something that really mattered to you, that in Wales we do our best to try and make sure nobody doesn't have somewhere decent to live. Then you can join other people in a campaign, and then when it comes to the election, you can say to the people who are standing for election, what is your policy on homelessness? If I vote for you, what will you do to try to make sure that nobody hasn't got somewhere proper to live? And by linking up with other people, you can sometimes be even more influential than just by doing it by yourself. So lots of ways, and lots of ways which are definitely worth it, and you can get a lot out of as well. If you're part of a campaign, then you can have quite a lot of fun in it, as well as doing something that's useful and important.
Will exams take place in the summer?
Oh, which was a very good question. I wish I could just give you the answer. But what I'll tell you is this. There won't be exams for people doing GCSEs. Okay, so if those are the exams that you will be going in for, we're not going to be able to run those. It'll be done on coursework and teachers assessing how people have done during the year. For A-levels, we're still deciding, and the Education Minister, who's someone called Kirsty Williams, she will be making a statement, as we call it, to the Senedd on Tuesday of next week. So she will be standing up in the Parliament, and she will be letting people know whether or not we're going to have exams for A-levels next year, or whether we're going to have to do it in a different way. But we've already decided that for GCSEs, coronavirus just means it's not fair, because so many people are having to miss school because somebody falls ill and then you've got to be home for time and so on. But we're going to find a different and a better way of dealing with that this year.
How do you feel about hearing that, Mitch? I'm not sure if you looked really excited or not pleased with that.
Well, I suppose I'm relieved because of how much school I've had to miss, because obviously my sister was one of them who had to shield and everything. So I had to shield with her just to protect her, really. So I'm kind of a bit relieved because that's a bit off my shoulders. But then I'm not so relieved because, yeah, it's part of your childhood. You have to go through exams to go through your childhood and stuff like that. So I would prefer to do the exams and I actually know that that is my grade, not what someone else thinks of it, really.
Mitch, thank you. Look, I think that really points to the whole dilemma in it all. I think if it wasn't for coronavirus, we would be having exams. And we will be doing it in just the way that you described. We're not having exams just because of the extraordinary circumstances in which so many young people are either directly affected by it themselves because somebody in their family is affected, or because the school that they're in isn't able to carry on doing things in the way that they otherwise would have been. And so this is not the way we would have chosen to do it in normal times, but we're not in normal times. And this is in the end a fairer way, we think, to be fair to everybody, given the coronavirus is still going to be with us for the rest of this year and well into next year as well.
I know Mitchell's joined on some kind of groups we've had and he's been quite tired from all the kind of coursework they've had to do in school. Does that mean there's going to be a lot more coursework needed to get those results?
Well, I think what lots of schools have been doing, because they didn't know whether young people would have to do exams or coursework, they've been trying to prepare for both. And that has made a huge amount of work for young people, because teachers are trying to teach for the exam in case it's an exam, and then they've been doing loads of coursework in case it's coursework. So the fact that we're now clear that it won't be an exam for GCSE, I hope will mean that it will be easier. Teachers know what's going to happen and they'll be able to focus on that. Because coursework will count for more, I don't think it means necessarily that there's going to be more of it, but the focus on it and the quality of it will need to be different.
I've got a quick question for the next question is asked. Do you know the exams that we've already sat? Are we going to go by them results or coursework from that? Because like I've done a maths exam this week, so I hope I haven't done that just now for the waste, like, and then I'm like wasting my time of revising just because it's judged on coursework, like.
No, look, those exams will count because schools will be able to submit the results of those exams as part of the evidence that they will use for whatever grade they think you should get. So that exam will definitely count. And the fact that it's coursework doesn't mean that schools can't still do internal exams of that sort to add to what the evidence that you get from coursework itself. So it definitely will count.
All right, thank you.
Ellie, are you there to answer the last two questions?
Yeah. So have you made any mistakes during the lockdown period that you would have not made? Like any mistakes that you regret during lockdown?
Oh, I'm sure I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time, don't we? That's what being human is like. I think if we'd known just how serious a disease coronavirus was going to be, we would probably have stopped people from travelling into the United Kingdom much earlier. A lot of the first coronavirus was people who'd gone away on holiday during the half term in February. A lot of people from Wales went skiing in Italy, and there was a load of coronavirus about, and we didn't stop that from happening. And they brought by the time they came back to Wales, they'd already got coronavirus. And because at that stage we didn't understand as much as we understand now, then we weren't saying to people, oh, stay home, you know, don't stand next to people, wear a mask if you're in crowded places, all of the things we do now, we didn't know then. So nobody should be afraid of making a mistake, because we all make mistakes all the time. The really important thing about mistakes is to learn from them. Isn't it? If you make a mistake, then you should afterwards think, now, what can I learn from that? So next time I'll make a better decision, or I'll do something different next time. But nobody should think that making a mistake is an awful thing, because, you know, I'm sure I've made mistakes in every single job I've ever done, and will go on making mistakes for as long as I'm alive, I guess. And it's part of the human condition. It's part of how we are. But as I say, the really important thing is to always be willing to learn, and always be willing to think about, what would I do differently next time? How does that make me better able to face up to this the next time I have to do it? In all our lives, in every bit of our lives, I think.
One last question. Was there one last question, Elian? Did you have to ask? Yeah? Elian, you there?
Elian. No, he's not here. He's got. Oh, yeah, he is.
Would you like me to ask it?
Yeah, sure.
What is it like being a leader of Wales, and what advice do you have for any young person that wants to become the leader?
Oh, well, what is it like being a leader in Wales? Well, it's lots of things, isn't it? You know, it's scary some of the time when you've got to make difficult decisions and things you know that, you know, lots of people probably won't agree with or won't like. So it's scary in that way. But the biggest thing about it is you're just very lucky to have the chance to do it. And if there are things that are important to you, as there are to me and are to the party that I belong to, you'll know, I guess, that I'm in the Labour Party, and the Labour Party in Wales stands for trying to look after people who can't look after themselves, people who need help, people who need the health service, people who need a house to live in, people who, you know, rely on other people to look after them. The Labour Party exists to be on the side of those people. And for me, the biggest thing is not the scary part of it, although that is true, but the fact that if you're doing the job, you have a real chance every day. Every day you have a chance to make a difference to somebody somewhere, and to try to make it better for that person. And, you know, if at the end of the day I can look back at the day and think, well, you know, we managed to do something today. We managed to do something today that makes the future better for some other people who need that help and who live here in Wales. Then you put up with the rest because it's been worth it for that reason. My advice to young people who might want to be, you know, the leader of Wales is don't try to plan it and plot it too much. You know, I became the leader of Wales by accident, really, not because I was especially wanted to be or was planning to be. My first job was a probation officer, and I worked here in Cardiff for 10 years, mostly out in Ely in the part of Cardiff West where I still work a lot, and it was fantastic. I worked with young people. I was a youth worker for a while, and you know, the chance to do that job and to meet people in really tough spots, you know, people whose lives were really hard, and to learn from them and find out what they needed and what could be done to help them. I still think about that every day when I'm doing the job I do now. And I think if you want to be involved in politics, which is a great thing to do, it's really important to do other things as well, and to have other sorts of experiences, and to use all of that if you're lucky enough to end up in the sort of jobs that I've done. Bringing all that with you, I think, makes you better at doing the job. So that will be probably my advice to young people who would like to be leaders. Don't plan to be leaders. Go and do other things, and all of that will help you in the end, and you'll be better off for it.
I've got one more question.
Go on.
Because because I have to self-isolate, because I came in contact with someone who had corona, because I have to self-isolate in my room because of my sisters and stuff. What, like, do you have anything, like, any suggestions on what to do and how to spare time?
Any series to watch, maybe?
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think if it was me, this is all I can tell you, and if it was me, what I would do, because I'm a bit sort of organised in this way, I will be planning my day, and I would be trying to think of different things that I could do in the day. So I would definitely spend some time watching some stuff on television that I haven't been able to catch up on, some series that I've missed or whatever. So I will be putting some part of the day to one side to do that. I myself will definitely be doing some reading. I'll put an hour aside and go, I'm going to read for an hour now. I'm going to do something different there. I'd probably put an hour aside to phone people. So I think, oh, now then, who haven't I spoken to for a bit? And every day I try and think of 2 or 3 people who I could catch up with and give them a ring and hear from them and things like that. I put a bit of time aside to eat, to make sure that somewhere in the day I had something to eat, and could look forward to having some food as part of the day. So I think for me, I think it's really hard to be self-isolating like you are, and to be, a bit stuck in a small space. So I will be trying to think of variety. I will be trying to think of planning my day to make sure that there's lots of different things that I can do to try and, help me enjoy the time as best I can, but to make the time go quicker, because the busier you are, the faster the time goes. And I think that's what I will be doing. Planning my day and making sure that there's lots of different things in it to help me to get through it.
I have another question. It's to do with mental health again.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch.
It's not just through COVID, but after the COVID as well. Is it any way that you're going to try and support it? Because obviously if you need counselling and stuff like that, you got to wait 18 months at least, minimal 18 months before you actually get some kind of counselling. Is it a way that you could try and make it like shorter time, like adding more counselling groups or something like that, just to get a bit more support quicker, like? Because obviously I know family members who need counselling, and seeing them go through all that pain, it's not a nice seeing, like, and 18 months is a long time for someone who really needs it, like.
18 months is useless, isn't it, really, because you need the help when you need the help, and that's especially true of mental health. Of course, we will definitely want to go on, investing more money in having more people who can provide that sort of help, so there's more service available. But actually, I have a slightly different idea of it myself, which is that what I would like to see happen is that more people in their ordinary jobs are better trained and equipped to be able to offer some help to people who have mild mental health conditions. Now, obviously, if you're very ill, you've got a really severe mental illness, you need a specialist, don't you? You need a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But I am keen that people like Dale and Elena, that in the training that they get more help so that they can help people who need a bit of counselling or who just need somebody to understand what it's like to go through a tough time in terms of your well-being or mental health, so that you don't have to wait to see a specialist and you don't have to be referred to somebody else, but that people who do youth work or are teachers or work in general practice, that they are more trained and feel more confident to be able to offer help to people who need not a really specialist service, but just somebody who they can talk to, get that bit of extra help, that bit of counselling. Lots of people are afraid of mental health, aren't they? They're nervous. They think, oh, I'm not equipped to help this person. What I'll do is I'll refer them to somebody else. And the trouble with that is that the queue to get to see somebody else gets longer and longer because everybody's been passed their way. Whereas I think if we could equip more people to do basic mental health work, mental health first aid, it's sometimes called, then actually there will be more opportunities to get help quicker for people, and that we could help in that way too.
Okay, thank you.
I think that draws us to a bit of a close, I think. They were absolutely amazing questions, guys. Really well done.
No, thank you very much. That was really great. And thank you for your help with those questions that I was asking you as well. That's really helpful for me. Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, well, I'd be very pleased to do it. Enjoyed it a lot. I'm going to leave you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.